All right, as war rages in Israel, Iran continues its own flex throughout the region. This month, nearly 24 American troops in Iraq and Syria have suffered injuries due to aerial attacks from militia groups backed by Tehran. Now, in a Rose Garden ceremony yesterday, President Biden said that he warned Iran's supreme leader to expect U.S. reaction if these strikes continue. How long are they going to continue? Well, many in Congress are saying, hey, it's time to act. But as the war in Israel creates a powder keg threatening to engulf the Middle East, how should the U.S. respond? Joining me now by phone to discuss this and more, Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina. He serves on 4 Senate committees, including the Senate Judiciary Committee, where he is the ranking member. He's on the Senate Appropriations Committee as well, and he just returned from a trip to the Middle East. Senator, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Thank you very much, Tony.
Let's start first. I'm going to get into Iran because that's very much a part of this discussion, but you just returned from Israel. Your impressions of being in Israel?
Can you say that again? I lost you for a second.
Yeah, you just returned from Israel. You went with a bipartisan delegation. Right. Your response to what you saw over there?
Okay, number one, it was worse than the Nazis. The crimes committed against the Jewish people, children burned, women raped. I've never seen such savagery in my life. They outdid the Nazis. Hamas is a religious, fanatical organization not trying to help the Palestinian people. They're trying to destroy all the Jews. They wouldn't exist without Iran. Israel is begging the United States to let Iran know that if the war expands, it will be threatened by us. The only thing between this war getting bigger is a strong America, and I am urging President Biden to up his game. 30 Americans have been injured since this started in Syria and Iraq. We have done nothing, and if Hezbollah comes after Israel in the north, that could be very devastating to Israel. So I am telling President Biden, all my Democratic friends and Republicans, put Iran on notice. If this war gets bigger, we're coming after you.
Is the Senate poised to do that in a bipartisan manner?
Well, you're the first I've told. I have very close to a bipartisan agreement with a resolution that would urge the use of military force against the Islamic Republic of Iran if there's an escalation in the north, if there's continued attacks on American troops in Syria and Iraq and other places. If we can say that bipartisan, that will be very helpful. I think there's some like-minded Democrats. I'm really close. Hopefully I can tell you and your listeners in a few days we did it.
Senator, you would not be alone in this. You have some former military leaders, generals here in the United States, saying that, look, Iran only understands action. Words don't mean a whole lot, and as they continue to attack through their proxies, American troops, if we don't do something, it's going to continue.
Well, Trump understood that. They were afraid of Trump. Trump kills, Soleimani, the head of the Revolutionary Guard that had killed Americans in the past. Trump put Iran on notice. Trump put them in a box. Biden doesn't have the deterrent effect that Trump did. President Biden needs to up his game. Our friends in Israel in their fight for their lives, pray for them. The bottom line here is Iran's Ayatollah has to believe that if this war expands, there won't be 2 fronts, there'll be 3, that the United States will knock out your oil fields. The Iranian economy is dependent on oil. That's where they get the money. They're the largest state sponsor of terrorism on the planet. All the oil refineries are sitting out in the open. I've been saying for days now, weeks now, let Iran know if you try to come after us, you're going to be out of the oil business. If you escalate the fight against Israel, you're going to be out of the oil business.
This is Washington Watch, and my guest, Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, joins us by phone. The Senate just got out, and he's at the airport getting ready to take off. Senator, I appreciate you taking a moment to join us. I want to go to what you identified and what others have pointed to as maybe a trigger for Iran using Hamas to go into Israel to disrupt what has been taking place in terms of conversations between Israel and Saudi Arabia and building on the Abraham Accords of peace in the Middle East.
Yes. Let me just, I'm about to go off to speak to the Republican Jewish Coalition, and the bottom line is, why did they do this now, Hamas and their puppets of Iran, to stop the efforts that you and I have been working on to have Saudi Arabia recognize the Jewish state called Israel, to end the Arab-Israeli conflict? It is a nightmare for Iran if the Arabs and the Israelis come together, leaving them out. That's what this was about, to destroy the deal between Saudi Arabia and Israel. That's what they're trying to do.
Well, there's a history here of when Arab nations begin to recognize Israel, their right to exist. I mean, we saw it in Egypt. Of course, we've had a few disruptions in that when the Muslim Brotherhood took over, but it's moving back to a working relationship between those two countries. If there's that type of recognition, we've seen it in the UAE, we're seeing it elsewhere. So this could be reshuffling the entire deck in the Middle East.
Well, that's why I like doing your show. We have a peace treaty between Jordan, Israel, Egypt, and Israel. The Abraham Accords, you had several Gulf states and Arab nations recognize Israel on Trump's watch. The big prize is Saudi Arabia. That's where the Islamic holy sites exist. Medina and Mecca, that's the heart and soul of Islam. To have the Saudi crown prince and his country recognize the Jewish state as being legitimate, accepting Jews in the Mideast. Israel's a legitimate country. Doing business with Israel, having peace agreements and treaties with the United States is the best thing in the world to keep our friends in Israel safe.
Right.
It takes the Mideast toward the light, away from the darkness, and it's Iran's worst nightmare is for the Arab world to join with Israel to move forward. That's what they're trying to stop. Pray for our friends in Israel. That's what they're trying to stop.
And I'll just speak this from an evangelical. We know that we're never going to have permanent peace in the Middle East until the Prince of Peace returns, but I believe we have a responsibility to try to arrive at a managed peace that is workable and beneficial to our friends in Israel. I don't think a two-state solution has been one that has brought us any peace, but I think this approach of working with other Arab nations to recognize Israel's right to exist puts pressure on the Palestinian authorities and others.
Absolutely. And Saudi Arabia, part of the deal between the United States and Saudi Arabia, defense agreements, economic agreements, recognizing Israel has a peace for the Palestinians. But you can't, Hamas is not wanting a state for the Palestinians. They want to kill the Jews like the Nazis.
Well, they have a state.
To be destroyed.
They've had control of Gaza since 2007, since Hamas was elected as the leadership, the government there.
Yeah.
What have they done with it?
Gaza is used as a launching pad to kill Jews, and any Palestinian who wants to live with Israel in peace, they kill. So it's a terrorist enclave.
So
now, the Palestinian people.
Let me just ask you about that for just a moment, because Israel has been handcuffed in years past. Every time I was there in 2014 when they were lobbing rockets over. In fact, I spent a good bit of time in a bunker. And we always, the international community says, well, don't go too far. Stop right there. Is it going to be different this time, given what you saw?
Yeah.
You saw the evidence. You saw what they did. Yeah. Are we going to allow Israel to take care of business?
Well, I tell you, Lindsey Graham will. I'm going to give Israel the time and space to destroy Hamas. That's non-negotiable. They're religious Nazis. Their charter is to destroy Israel. What they did to children, babies in the crib, raping women, killing children in front of the parents, and vice versa, is beyond what the Nazis did, if there is such a thing. The bottom line here is they need the time and space to go in on the ground. You're a military guy. You can't destroy this organization from the air. Going on the ground and destroy Hamas, then work with the Arabs to create a better life for the Palestinians. That's the game plan. Don't put pressure on Israel to stop a military operation that will destroy religious Nazis.
Before I let you go, Senator, I want to talk about how the international pressure is already building. I want to play a clip from the Secretary General of the UN from Tuesday of this week. Now, I'm going to be very clear, he's tried to walk the comments back, but it's the second time he's made these comments. Clip number 4.
The attacks by Hamas did not happen in a vacuum. The Palestinian people have been subjected to 56 years of suffocating occupation. They have seen their land steadily devoured by settlements and plagued by violence, their economy stifled, their people displaced, and their homes demolished. Their hopes for a political solution to their plight have been vanishing.
Well, Senator, that was Secretary General Antonio Guterres at the UN. How can we expect to build international support for Israel when we're getting this out of the UN?
Well, I wrote a letter to him. I'll get it to you. He's trying to suggest there are two sides of this story. There's not. Hamas is not trying to help build up the Palestinian people. They're trying to kill all the Jews. That's their charter. There is no equivalency here. There is no vacuum. The head of the UN, the voice of the world, made one of the most inappropriate statements in modern history, suggesting that there was a legitimate reason by Hamas coming into Israel, slaughtering babies in the cribs, raping women, killing children in the arms of their parents. That is a bunch of BS. I sent him a letter.
Should he resign?
Good. I think he needs to walk it back. He has forever tainted himself with our friends in Israel. The bottom line here is it's almost like saying you need to understand the Nazi side of the story in World War II. No, you don't. There's no moral equivalence here. These are terrorists who are trying to kill all the Jews. Let me tell you, Israel's trying not to kill Palestinian civilians. That's the policy of the Israeli government, is to try not to kill innocent people. Hamas wants to kill innocent people, including their own. So there's no moral equivalency here. It was an inappropriate statement. If I can get a Democrat to join me to say Iran's the bad guy, if the war expands, we're going after Iran, that will be a great help to our friends in Israel. Pray that I can find a Democrat, or several of them, that will deliver that message to avoid this war from getting larger.
All right, we will certainly do that. One final question for you. As you were interacting with the Prime Minister and other friends in Israel, what's their sense in terms of America standing with them?
They were very appreciative of a bipartisan delegation, 5 R's, 5 D's from the Senate. They're very appreciative of what President Biden's done. They're worried we're not sending the deterrent message to Iran strong enough. They appreciate America's support. They've had a gut punch. There's been this idea that Israel, is controlling everything. Well, we missed 9/11. We missed Pearl Harbor. These things happen. Israel needs us as not only supplier weapons, but they need us as people. They have been wounded. They're our friends. And when a friend is down and out, you come to them not only to help them financially, but spiritually.
Yeah.
They need our spiritual help as much as our weapons.
Yeah, the moral support, knowing that you're not alone in this battle, is tremendously important. Senator, I know you got to go. Thanks so much for taking time to join us.
Thank you. God blesses those who bless Israel. God bless.